All right, welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, the 29th of June, 2022, and this is the Cluster API project meeting. Cluster API is a Kubernetes SIG lifecycle project, and as such, we are following the Kubernetes SIG guidelines, which generally means be kind to each other, raise your hand if you'd like to speak, and one of the hosts will call on you. And yeah, I guess with that, let's get rolling into our agenda here. So at the beginning of each meeting, we'd like to take a little time to welcome new attendees to the Cluster API community. So if you are new here and would like to introduce yourself, please feel free to unmute and say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone. My name's Naresh. I am a consulting engineer based in London. Previously worked for investment banking, then moved into the database world with MongoDB. Now I'm with Aerospike, which is a real-time, low-latency data platform. Not sure if you've heard of it. So one of the things that really interests me is trying to get on board with something that's very sort of Kubernetes and standard-like, production, industrial-like. And I found that this cluster API is probably where this is, where I'd like to be. Yeah.
Awesome. Welcome aboard, Naresh. And yeah, hopefully you'll find this project interesting and standards compliant in some ways, I guess. Would anyone else like to say hello? All right, I am not seeing any other unmutes, so let's keep rolling here. So first we'll look at the open proposal readouts. Do we have anyone here who would like to represent one of these open proposals to talk about the status? Please just raise your hand and we'll call on you. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands go up, so we'll keep rolling here. It looks like the first discussion topic is up to you, Stefan, about upcoming releases. So why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Yes, just keep the screen share, it's fine. Okay, so I just want to give an overview over, yeah, let's say the release we're currently working on. So first of all, we are thinking about doing another 1.1 release. So what would be included there? I mean, we had some bug fixes, some smaller ones, but the ones I want to mention is, so the first one we merged this week. So we had some race condition in KCP, which meant that so when we are upgrading from 1.21 to 1.22, and we are upgrading to Coordinates 1.8.1, then we have to patch the cluster role of Coordinates. And there were some circumstances where that just didn't happen. So essentially, if you, let's say, change KCP in a way that we didn't expect, the cluster role doesn't get patched and Coordinates just doesn't work. So you get a bunch of errors like Coordinates can't read endpoint slices. And we discovered during cluster class tests, because there we changed it in a different way than our intent is, that we had that gap, and that's now fixed. So probably, I'm not sure if someone noticed that or not. Essentially, when we changed our upgrade tests to cluster class, we just noticed that it failed like in 30% of the time, because yeah, that's more race condition. So that will be fixed. Then I would just jump to the second one. We bumped the Coordinates library, I think also this week. Essentially, we need that Coordinates migration library, I think is the concrete name. When we upgrade Coordinates via KCP, we migrate the Coordinates configuration file, and KCP only supports the Coordinates versions, which are supported by that library. So by bumping that library to 1.0.17, we now support Coordinates 1.9.3. And actually, there are some CVEs in earlier versions of Coordinates. So essentially, by bumping that library, we're now supporting Coordinates. So now you now can use a version of Coordinates which doesn't have a CVE. I'm not sure how critical those CVEs were. One of them was in the YAML parser. I don't know what the second one was. You can look it up somewhere there. I think it's in the Coordinates release notes of the 1.9.3 release. So that will be included there. I'm not sure where you can find that piece of information, but if someone's looking for that, just ping me in Slack. I'll dig it up. Yeah, and the last one, which is a PR we currently opened. So we had some reports, I think from Maximilian, that they had problems upgrading to cluster API 1.1.4, I think. Yeah, that's the issue. Perfect. So essentially, the problem is Cert Manager dropped some API versions over. Yeah, I would say they kept them for a while, but with Cert Manager 1.7, they eventually dropped them from the CRD. And when you drop API versions from a CRD, which have previously been storage versions, then you have to do something. And we integrated in Cluster Cuddle. So essentially, when Cluster Cuddle now detects the case that either a new Cert Manager version or a new version of a provider drops versions in the CRDs, we do an automatic migration of the custom resources. And then additionally, we have to modify the status of those CRDs. So there are some details in the issue and in the PR. Essentially, we followed the guidance that we found upstream in Kubernetes to resolve that issue. The PR seems to be ready. I think Furkat also tested it already, and it seems to work. So yeah, feel free to take a look and give feedback. If there are no objections, we would make it part of that release. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not, but the scenario in which you hit that issue is essentially at some point you had cluster API 0.3.13 or earlier installed in your management cluster. Then you upgrade to new cluster API versions, and eventually you wanted to upgrade to cluster API 1.1.4, and that upgrade simply fails because because a Cert Manager CRD drops a version which hasn't been migrated, roughly. So that's the idea. Okay, I'll stop for a second. Any questions, concerns? Otherwise, feel free to answer on to ask on PR Slack or elsewhere.
Anybody have questions about the 1.1.5 release proposal here? All right, I'm not seeing any hand stuff on.
Okay, I'll move on. Okay, so next release 1.2.0. So we released last week the first beta, this week beta 1, so the second one. And I just want to give an overview what we're currently working on to get to GA essentially. So the first thing is, we're gathering feedback from providers. So I already saw a bunch of providers upgrading. I think, as far as I know, it worked in all cases. I'm not 100% sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But up until now, as far as I know, there weren't any issues found. And thanks for everyone who tested it out. Yeah, Richard, I know. We would do the release from Europe. So so we're waiting for feedback essentially. Apart from that, we have two bigger topics that we're working on. The first one is we changed our cluster class or cluster topology reconciler to use server-side apply. And there is some logic in there which does a dry run. Essentially, it tries to detect do we have to run a server-side apply or not. And the dry run logic currently relies on parsing managed fields, which isn't super great. So I'm not sure who remembers that stuff with some older kubectl versions where you had managed fields above your resources. So we were parsing that and trying to use that information and the current object and what we wanted to achieve and try to figure out if we have to run server-side apply or not. And we have some alternatives that we're testing out right now. Ideally, we can just use server-side apply for it. So there's a server-side apply dry run functionality, but we are in the middle of exploration. And we'll probably propose changing the current dry run and exchanging it through that server-side apply next week. But we need a little bit more time to make sure it actually works exactly how we want it to. And the other part is runtime SDK. So we have some leftovers. We are increasing test coverage. We're adding a little bit more logging, we're adding more documentation. And we have one hook that we didn't implement yet, which is the default cluster lead hook. So those are the open topics that we're essentially working on. But let us know if there are other things that should make it into release or if you find any bugs, etc.
Yeah, Christian, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention for the 1.2 current branch, there are also two fixes outstanding for the current implementation, which patches for server-side apply. So anyone who wants to already go to 1.2 beta release or something, please keep in mind that there will be changes and they may break until the GA version, but we will fix them until the GA version.
Very cool. Thank you for that advisory.
Okay. Yeah, so that's everything from my side.
Yeah, are there any questions about the upcoming releases or comments that people want to make? All right, I am not seeing any hands go up. So Yuvraj, you got the next topic with the cluster API deep dive. So take it away.
Yeah, so the deep dive submission, I believe, is on July 11th. So we just have like one more CAPI meeting before that. So I wanted to just bring it up so that everyone's aware. And I remember that when started a discussion in Slack, and I think at least 2 people already volunteered. So just bringing it up so that we make the submission and just get that done.
Okay, sounds good. I see Alberto responding here. I don't know who else, but yeah, I guess if
Jack Francis responded.
Oh, was Jack in there as well?
He's at the top of the message stack, the first one.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the colors are like very similar for me. Okay, cool. I'll just make a quick note here. Jack, Microsoft? I'm trying to remember.
You got it. You pinned me.
Alrighty.
Please also add a deadline if you know the date. 7th July or what was it?
At
It's
least in Slack,
October, I
it's
think.
mentioned that it's 11th July. If the date changed, then maybe it changed. Sounds like October.
We think it's the 18th, right?
Wait, what's due on the 18th? Sorry if I'm not reading my hand.
The
11th.
the proposal, it's the 11th.
Oh, it's been extended.
Oh, nice.
I see.
Okay, maybe if someone can figure that out, we can fill this in and at least have it there. I guess we
Yeah,
don't even know if
I
it's,
thought we did a big scramble to submit it a couple weeks ago.
okay. Well, cool. Alberto and Jack, thanks for stepping forward. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you in Detroit, right?
Just a question. So that big scramble that we did wasn't for the deep dive, just in case we're confusing things. I'm not sure. I just know that if someone from Microsoft, maybe check or not, that we were submitting a cluster API tutorial, but that's not the same as the maintainer track deep dive. So yeah, we don't have to do it now here synchronously, but just have to make sure that whatever we submitted, that was actually the maintainer track, if that's still open.
Okay. So I'm just sorry, I'm just looking at the chat here go by. Okay. So this is kind of the end of our agenda for today. Does anybody have any ad hoc topics that they would like to bring up before we go? All right, I am not seeing any hands go up or a wealth of overflow in chat. So thank you everyone for coming out. And I guess we'll take about 40 minutes of our day back and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.